I've got a great guest.
Can you start that again?
Okay, I'm going to start that again. Take 2. Let's go. Welcome to the Sai Sessions podcast. My name is Sai Jones, and today I've got a great guest, someone who wears many hats. And today we're going to dive into the many hats that he wears. Someone who has something to say, and that's why he is currently sitting here today, because we only have people who have stuff to say on this podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to help me welcome Pablo.
Thank you, Sai. Thanks
Welcome.
for having me. Thanks for having me. And for the guys at the back, thanks. Thanks for
Hi, guys
me.
at the back.
Thanks for having me.
No, we don't. I don't want to have to just think, we're going to the official thing. We're going to the official things. And that means that we need to, let's be uptight now. This is not what we do on this podcast. We're as free as they come. And just before that, we were having a loaded conversation. And I just thought, no, let's start the show, guys, because some of these conversations need to be had on air. But just to kind of get into knowing you a little bit, because a lot of people usually see someone and they're like, oh my goodness, who are they that they can say this kind of stuff? So it's very important to kind of give context on who exactly came to the podcast and why they are giving the opinion and why they're giving their expertise, because they know what they're talking about if we're being for real. So let's start by doing this. I did say you wear many hats. You were head of DJ producer, you were head of music culture curator, you were head of, what else you were head of? You run businesses, like you wear so many hats. And that kind of also makes you the expert of what you currently do today and why you're sitting here today. So I want to dive into how it came about for you to be wearing all of those hats, because it's amazing to see.
Thank you.
It's amazing to see. So it's very inspirational for people who also thinking, I want to wear as many hats as he does. How do I go on about doing that? So how did it go about that you put on so many hats?
So, just to recap over what I do. So, I'm a professional DJ, professional producer. I own an artist management agency. I have a bunch of event properties. I'm just about to launch a 360-degree global music business. I've got 2 event consultancy businesses as well, I run a couple of ongoing shows or days or events at the living room on every Sunday.
That's why I said music curator, music culture
curator of the month. And then I'm a student of life, a student of this industry. I'm flattered when you say expert, but I think at my age I still have a lot to learn. I think people think I'm much younger than what I am, so I'm 34. And a lot of young people that I meet seem to think that I'm 25 or 26, which is very flattering.
Flex.
But yeah, how I ended up wearing so many hats is just determination. Ending up, as an artist, to start off with, and seeing that there's a whole bunch of this industry that I'm not really super aware of or knowledgeable of, and how these things work on the other side of the industry that actually impact me as an artist. That was the first kind of thing. And also just having to, prove people wrong. I think, when I was coming up, there's only a select few people that actually would give you their time, would give you an opportunity. There was a stigma, or maybe that stigma still exists today, that there is a lack of that. There's a lack of mentorship. There's a lack of opportunities. There's a lack of people just hearing you, seeing you, acknowledging you. And, those things were kind of what brought together this whole kind of thinking or drive of mine to be involved in so much. And most importantly, I want to be a contributor to this industry. Because from my own perspective and my own experience, there weren't a lot of people that actually took the time to actually understand and get to know me and what I was about. And I think in the beginning of my career, I kind of garnered some reputation that, because I'm a friendly, well-spoken, well-mannered person that just wants to give love, that I have some kind of agenda. And, you know, I heard in the grapevine, oh no, you know, Pablo is so friendly, you know, why is he so well mannered, you know, what does he want, what is his agenda? And I've been here for 16 years and I haven't changed. So, you know, that's one of those things that I'll come back to in terms of what brought me to wear many hats, is also just proving people wrong. I had to do it my whole life. I can't say I had a hard upbringing. I think everyone's upbringing is relative to their existence and what they experience, but my family didn't come from much. My mom had to jump the border because she was abused, and she had to start her life here from the age of 16. So she only knew poverty, and you know, she worked her way up in corporate. I think she only got her matric certificate at the age of 40. Oh, wow. She died at 44 from 4 different types of cancer. When you lose someone so young in their life and so young in your life, it actually makes you reflect on where you are and where you're going and if you're doing the right thing. And I mean, coming up through school, I was a great scholar. I played sports. I mean, I played international sports. I played national sports. I played provincial sports, soccer, cricket, rugby. I was a leader in school. So I really had great principles instilled in me growing up. But education in my family was everything. I was the first person in my family to matriculate. So there was a lot of pressure in terms of the way that the world was then, that, you know, in school, there wasn't really enough support and guidance into how I can get into this field, which is kind of more of a creative field. And how do I pursue that? It was more like, you will go to university, you will study this, you're the first person to go into corporate, you know. So when my mother died, it was actually the driving force behind everything that I do. It's still today, it's still something that makes me very emotional, because I'm a living embodiment of the promise that I made to her on a deathbed, that I will pursue this and I will look after my younger brothers pursuing this, which I do. And I'm so blessed and so happy to say that, you know, my younger brothers are doing so well. They inspire me every day. They do so well right now, and I hope that I've had a massive impact in that. That's why I wear so many hats. And then another hat that I wear is like, I'm an educator and I'm a mentor. Which I find that there's not a lot of that in. You know, there's a lot of artists that want to break through. There's a lot of guys that want to share themselves, their hearts, and who they are, and express it musically. And if I have a platform that I can allow them to share that space with, then that's what I want to do. You know, Lazarus Man, which I'm sure many viewers know who Laz is, he did a very interesting piece on us. I think it was back in like 2014 or 2015, about Weston&Engine, which is the music duo that I'm a part of, saying that we had to fight tooth and claw to get into the industry. And I think just the way that he's phrased it is so accurate, you know. And I just want to say this, you know, when you meet me and you know me, or if you just known me for, you know, a year or two, or maybe recently met me, you know, don't ever call me fortunate. You know, you don't know what it cost me. You don't know what I sacrificed. You don't know the time with my family that I've lost, the time with my friends that I've lost, a lot of failed relationships, and a lot of friends that, you know, in business that it hasn't really turned out quite fortunate, because this is the path that you take. And if I want to do it a certain way, there's just things that just can't happen. There's nothing can be on par. Everything has to be better. Because you want to stick out in this industry, and you want to do things that are different. And most importantly for me is I want to create lasting memories with everything that I do, through my music that I make, with Sean, through the events that we host and all the event properties, through every client that I have from a consultancy perspective, and helping them see that vision and then creating that. You don't get it right all the time, but you strive for it. And I think with the consistency and creating sustainability through that, you can achieve it.
You have said a lot right now. So I want to then, it's a loaded story. It's a loaded story. And do you, first of all, feel like people assume what kind of upbringing that you've got?
I think just because of the way that I speak,
okay,
and because my name is Pablo, there's this automatic assumption that you're
exotic.
Yeah, that
Which you are exotic,
I'm
but
exotic.
you're exotic with money.
No, I'm definitely not exotic. I'm definitely not exotic with money. My mother didn't leave me millions, in the bank account to actually build something off. There was a time in my life where I was doing 4 jobs at the same time. I was working a corporate job, I was working in the bars, and I was trying to get gigs and writing music. And then I just started taking on more. So then I was like, cool, I'll do events. And then that turned into something which I'm sure we'll speak about later with someone that I think has been a really cornerstone in me actually elevating into this part of my career, which is, his name is Guy Herman. He's big brother to me, mentor to me. He's one of those people that just saw what I was doing, took me under his wing. I can honestly say that in all relationships in life, you do go through good times and bad times, and you do experience growth through these kinds of challenges that you have in your relationship. But he was very hard on me in the beginning, because he's the kind of person that doesn't believe in mediocre.
Okay.
Everything must be perfect, devil in the detail. And I kind of took a lot of that on. And, there were still things that I was learning in my late 20s from him that a lot of people, I would say, in more privileged backgrounds, and I say that in inverted commas because that is just a word of relativity, especially in a country that we live in South Africa right now. I'm already privileged the fact that I can dress like this, and as an example, I'm already privileged at the fact that I can sit here and I can share this message, where I think there's a lot more people that have more inspiring messages. But hopefully me sitting here today propagates that people will take that step forward and try and pursue that. But back to the perfection, everything is about perfection.
Yes.
And he's a stickler for that, and he's garnered a reputation for that, as much as he's garnered a reputation as a person that doesn't take shit. So I've had to learn that, being a very soft, loving, respectful person that I am, like as I've mentioned earlier in this interview, that people kind of think that I'm too friendly. I've had to learn how to kind of separate the way that I treat people and how I run my business. And how I run my business and how the properties and the events and the brands, they kind of sit above the friendly nature that you have with me. The friendly nature becomes like the glue of what it is, but the substance of what the whole thing is the striving for perfection.
This conversation of people thought that you're not being authentic by your friendliness is very awkward for me, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like the consumer at large, they like an inaccessible artist. Oh, we must follow them. I feel like they like an inaccessible artist, and as soon as you're accessible, there's some sort of weird energy that they get towards you, and I don't know where that comes from. It's as if they want their artists to not be accessible for them to like them, and if you are likable, you take longer to be liked. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Definitely, I think at the heart of everything that we've done has been very organic. It's really been about relationships, and it does get tough. When you grow as an artist, and a lot of the relationships you have within the industry are built on those friendships, then having discussions about rates and value becomes very tricky, because now those are personal relationships. But that accessibility that you're speaking about also needs to be felt for younger guys that want to come up. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, because it's like, your value should be X, and if you look at the resume, you go, okay, cool, I can validate that, but we have a relationship, and this relationship goes this way. And for me, I think that relationship is a two-way street, because I do so much, so many shows, and I can offer artists more. I'm generally also in that equation where guys are also doing me favors. So I find that we all do each other a lot of favors, because we're all kind of striving for this excellence. And the bigger it grows, the more you pay and the more you can do. But it's very difficult to put comparisons on it, with some of your mates, because as an example, we're having this conversation before, it's like, when do you place value in yourself? When do you stop playing for free? How much do you charge, and how do you validate how much you charge based on your resume? And I'm not really one person that likes to go, but I've done this and they haven't. Then why? Because at the heart of it is still this community that is dictating what the trends are. And as promoters and creators, we've also got to try and help adapt to those trends, and also set trends of our own, and you actually find that when a lot of artists align with specific event brands and groups, and those brands and groups do bigger events and bigger shows and make a bigger kind of social impact, that those artists automatically kind of grow, and that's how their profiles grow. It doesn't always happen like that, but you do have at different points in, like, there's hype artists and then there are community artists, which I feel like we're very much community artists that also have a global footprint, that have also done stuff internationally. And that is one of the things that actually kind of set us apart when we were coming up in the industry, is like, we didn't really have a lot of opportunities as Western&Engine. A lot of guys didn't want to give us their time as Western&Engine. And for many other reasons, I'm not sure what they are, because those were never discussed with us. But it's like, it brings me back to that thought that people want to see you do well, they just don't want to see you do better than them. So it kind of like led us on this path that was like, okay, cool, well, if we're not going to be getting gigs, then we're just going to sit in studio, because we write as good music as the music that we're playing. So we're just going to strive for this and try and reach that level of excellence. I'm not saying all of our tracks are amazing. I think music is subjective. So if you're in the mood and that's the right song, then great. But it took for us to release on global record labels that guys in this industry avidly follow, for people to go like, oh, shucks, damn, I just purchased your release of this. Please, can we have a conversation about you doing a show with me? And meanwhile, 2 months ago, I'd already approached you about the show and you weren't interested. And then it's kind of like a mental thing that kind of happens to you as a person. You try, don't get your ego in the way of it, but like the thought process kind of goes something like this. Okay, well, I approached 2 months ago, you weren't interested. You had all the tools and the negotiating power to, but now I'm in demand. And now you want to have this conversation. But again, like, I can't adopt that mentality, because for me, I want to see growth in this industry. I want to see headway in terms of like growing it and getting more people to participate in it, because the end goal for me is, if more people are participating from an artist perspective, from a technical perspective, and it's everyone around this industry, it's not just the artists, it's everyone that makes it happen. If that industry grows, the footprints of South Africa in the world as a consumer of any said specific music, mainly dance music, we're the biggest consumers of dance music in the world.
100%.
You know, if we're growing, it brings more notes of viewership and more eyes on this country, and it then promotes channels for us to bud artists that can go overseas, because at the heart of what we have is we're very proudly South African, and we've got a great scene that thrives, but we're still constantly comparing ourselves to what's going on overseas.
It's that duality. I think you also mentioned, it's that duality of being the first third world country.
Yes,
it's
definitely.
that duality, and I think that duality is engraved in our mentality.
I just think 100%. And I'd even go as far as saying it's not duality, it's just complete hypocrisy. How can you be first and third world, you know? But it is something that we face, that, I mean, I think as a country, as a society, as a people, you know, we here that live here see that there have been massive improvements in terms of the way that we live as South Africans. And I think the media overseas, or maybe even here, paints a specific dark light on our country. Like, we've got some really massive issues, like you can't even walk on the road, which is utter bullshit. I think when people actually give this country a chance and they come and visit this country, they see that we have the most friendly, warm-hearted people. We have great scenery. And it's just a joy to be here. Like any country, there's places that you just avoid. But I don't think that South Africa should be taken out the conversation in terms of like international people wanting to be here because of something that they read or think that they saw, the story that their friends told them. Just come and experience it for yourself.
100%. 100%. I agree. Listen, you mentioned, and I want us to have this conversation, this thing about mentorship. And for me, it's one of the reasons I feel like we have such a big gap in the music industry, especially when it comes to this thing that I'm on about valuing the industry, which then will lead to how you value yourself as an artist, will then lead to us getting resources from the government or from anywhere, or being taken seriously to that point. You mentioned your mentor guy, right? And then I'm just wondering, how often do you see a case where, of course it's not that often, where someone did have a mentor. And I think you also did mention that had things gone a certain way for you guys as well, perhaps we might be having a different conversations about how your career went.
Yes.
So that thing of mentorship, I feel is one of the biggest gaps. And I feel as though you hit the nail on the head with that. So I'm just wondering, how often have you seen that sort of relationship? And how have you seen it worked out, especially with some of the people that you know, perhaps in your circle?
I think it's improved from where it was. It's not where it needs to be. I think at the heart of it is a lot of artists, as much as some are doing well, in the biggest scheme of things, are all struggling artists.
Hey, we are all struggling artists, guys.
You know, we're all struggling artists, and I think the mentorship comes into a very awkward space where, like I said, people want to see you do well, but they don't want to see you do better than them. You know, where it's like, I haven't, you know, and maybe I'm missing this, and maybe this person or these people haven't really quite come to my head right now in this conversation, but I can't off the top of my head right now in this moment think of a relationship that I've seen where there's been a really strong artist that mentors someone,
same,
and takes them, and they're still together.
They're still together now. I've always seen that if someone takes someone under their wing, what I've seen is, and that
once they grow,
they drop them. Or they
become competition, and it's
exactly.
Like, but I don't understand how that works. Too. Like, but also, just to go back to the mentorship, so like, Guy's a big mentor for me in terms of like the events and the business, because I was doing events and business before we had become close,
yes,
but not to that level, and he helped me really see different sides of the industry and build different processes to streamline how I got to different results. So he was a big part in terms of like how I've cultivated the full rounded image of me right now. And I have a music mentor, which is Ryan Murgatroyd.
Yeah.
So I was a personal student of Ryan Murgatroyd. So I've been writing music since 2009. So it's 14 years now. And just having that time, and this is what I'll say about mentorship, having time with someone is the best way to fast track your career. And this is something that me and one of my partners, Carl McIntyre, picked up, quite late on 2018, which is like, we launched this non-profit organization called Educate, Empower, Learn, where we went on to do a bunch of workshops with Inenekazi, and outside. I mean, we had artists like Black Coffee, Kulu De Song, Seth Troxler, Julian Gomez, Ryan Murgatroyd, Quentin Christian, Chris Davis. I was involved in the Soul Candy workshops. We did a couple of our own workshops in Alexandra. And what we had identified, and was the sole purpose of us actually doing this program, was sitting down with a mentor in an industry that you want to be in helps you fast track your career more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because what it avoids is you bumping your head and making the same mistake over and over.
Which, sorry to disturb you, which by the way is what we were talking about earlier on, of there's this route that people feel like as an artist you need to get through to get to the big time. And that thing shouldn't be a repetitive thing. And if we had those sort of systems, like mentorship systems, maybe we wouldn't be doing exactly that.
You know, we tried to instill it, and a lot of people bought into it. But then it's like any non-profit organization, it's like you need to approach corporate for funding, and you need money, CSI. Yeah. And a lot of corporates weren't really interested at that time to get involved in the space. And there was another group, which I believe is still going now, which makes me very happy to say, is like Bridges for Music. They are still going, but a lot of that started off with overseas investment. So it's like in this country there is, and maybe it's changed now, because obviously since then to now we've got bigger exports in music in terms of like the dance music culture and Black Coffee and Shimza and a whole bunch of artists, and there's a lot of them which are like Black Motion and the list goes on, which are Kulo. I don't want to say. I don't want to say. And if I've missed you, I'm sorry.
As no one is going to be touched.
If I've missed you, please don't be touched. But as you can see, just by the way I'm wording it, it's been vast growth. So maybe there is more avenue for investment in this country, and hopefully it's not investment with an agenda, because from what my experience is, there's generally like guys that want to invest in this industry, but they have an agenda of being a DJ themselves at 47, 48 years old, 50 years old. They want to try and live their heyday or their own equipment at home, and they want to now do this, and then they invest because they want to grow their careers off your back. And at a lot of that time in this industry, that's very frowned upon, because there is a roadmap. There is a journey you must follow, and at the heart of that journey is respecting this industry.
It's respecting
the people that have added to this industry 100%. To make it what it is today. The guys that have sacrificed everything to get to where they are. The guys that owned record stores back in the day and had to change their business model and go into this and now they own clubs today, and they have their own communities. And these people, let's classify them as these purists, these contributors. They don't want investment into this industry that takes away the life's blood of this industry, which is killing the passion and the respect for what this industry is. Now, that's by no means saying like we don't want money and you can't put it under a corporation if that corporation is in line with the growth and the strategy that you have behind whatever brand that you're investing in. But if your agenda is, I'm getting involved, I want to start an events company, or I want to start an events movement or property or company because I myself have ambitions, I'm this age. And I'm not saying that you can't do it, but if your immediate idea is, I'm going to get my big break, I'm going to be the next big artist, and all I'm going to do is throw money at this thing, then no one's going to accept you in this industry, because at the heart of this industry is love for music and love for the people and love for the culture, and that needs to come first. And respecting that, even though you're paying for whatever, that you're not the headline artist, because there's other artists that have worked longer to get there. So you can't throw your toys out the cot if you've got to open a few times, or if you've got to play a free gig here and there. So it's one of those things that's like, and I know I've been through it a few times in my past where you're just not aligned with people in this way. And I'm at fault of this, of seeing good in people and ignoring certain red flags, because I want to so badly contribute to this industry and do anything that I can. And listen, I'm not saying that it was all bad. The relationships maybe didn't go the way that I'd wanted them to, or weren't concluded the way, but the work that I did, because it was done with this heart and this thinking that I specifically have for my end goal, I still delivered those results. I still put on good experiences. I still gave guys opportunities. I was still in a position that I want to be now, where I'm like an educator, a mentor, a leader of somewhat. I don't want to put myself on this pedestal. That is something I'm striving towards. And if the people that I work with and the people that I bud under me, they're the ones that call me that, then by all means, great. I accept that. I'm very grateful and I'm humbled by it. But my end goal is to be this contributor and to make sure that you're working with people that also want the same things that you do.
So bearing all of that in mind, and you've been mentioning your dual work as a Weston&Engine. You've mentioned
Weston&Engine,
yeah, you've mentioned that. And I'm just wondering that, with the work that you guys have been doing, let me say, number one, as an artist and as a duo, as artists, as a duo, do you find that the other stuff has been easier than being an artist itself?
I think yes and no, because Sean, my partner, doesn't get involved in the events and doesn't get involved in the agency.
I was wondering what his level of involvement.
So he doesn't get involved in those things. Yes, it has definitely assisted us, because there's also this thing that now you're doing your own shows, then guys book you less, and I don't get that, because I think I've kind of garnered something with my partners that you know, Guy specifically, is that we give everyone a chance. We involve everyone in the industry, and you know, there is this clique culture that people talk about, and I don't really like to harp on it too much, but you know, there's guys that want to stay in their lane, and that's respectable, and that's what they want, and that's the culture that they want, and they don't see inclusivity in that culture by involving, let's say, for example, I'm a dope deep house head, and that's all I do. There's no reason I'm going to give a techno DJ an opportunity to play deep house. Even if this techno producer writes the dopest deep house. And that, for me, and that kind of thinking makes absolutely no sense. So for me as an artist, and I think this is kind of one of the things that I'm very proud of with Weston&Engine, is you can't put us in a box, and you can't put us in a clique. It's like, we write great deep house, we write great techno, we write great progressive stuff, melodic stuff, minimal stuff, dub stuff. You know, and when you look at our resume of shows and where we play, we've played in all of these sectors. I think that's a massive pro.
I think so too. There's this energy of division in the industry in South Africa.
Definitely. I mean, you're an artist yourself. You can feel it. But I want to also talk about, sorry, just to break your word there. There's an artist, and I won't name this artist, all right? But
he's so sweet.
But there is an artist that is primarily built and known for building his music and his reputation off of being a great deep house artist or a great house artist. And then within the last 2 years, this said artist decided that they no longer want to focus primarily on that. They want to now play techno, and they've now got a revered residency at a very great culture place that is an establishment for techno. And this artist now has garnered this reputation of being a great techno artist. But it almost sounds to me like this artist denounced the fact that he was in deep house and he was just following that suite, which for me, I think it was really great that you could be both. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I actually saw like a whole social media kind of thing going on where guys were kind of attacking him on like his choice to now go with this kind of genre of music, and his whole explanation is like, I'm an artist, like I can do what I want.
What you want.
But what's sad for me in this picture is that you were still great at the other thing. You didn't have to leave the other thing to be in this thing. Which then another question has to be raised is, did you have to give up this thing to be accepted into this other thing? And these are questions. It's not my opinion. I don't know. But I think this kind of idea that, oh no, because you're deep house, you can only be deep house, or because you're this sound, you can only be this sound, because you're amapiano, you can only be piano. I think that is absolute hogwash. I think it's bullshit. And I think artists should be free to express themselves however. Can I swear on the show?
You
however
can.
However the fuck they fucking want to. That's why they are called fucking artists.
So let me put something to you right now. Like,
sorry, I just had to say it that way.
Let me put something to you. I also have somewhat of a bit of a problem with the boxing and having to say, oh, they're a deep house DJ, or they're a techno producer, or do you get me? So now let me put something to you. There's this conversation in the industry, especially in the music and events industry, as if there's this white crowd, there's this black crowd. Oh, I want to break into the white crowd, and what does the white crowd want? I want to break into the black crowd. What does the black crowd want? So now, since there's that conversation, someone is thinking, hey, I want to break into that white crowd, because for some reason that white crowd seems to be the appealing crowd for an artist who wants to play out internationally. So then they solely focus on whatever that white crowd wants to hear. So now I'm just wondering, Wote, isn't that probably the reason why said artists, they focus on now, they denounce that other genre and they want to focus on this particular genre, because now we're thinking about the kind of crowd that you want to attract and what you need to play for and what you need to produce and what you need to make.
I think I can definitely see your perspective on how you'd view that specific situation.
It's a big conversation in the black artist
So
community.
let me say this. All right. Urban artist, urban community.
What's urban is black?
Urban black, traditional, non-traditional. All of these words. I was actually going to get to the point. All of these words, they actually mean fuck all.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We're South African. We're a rainbow nation. So we also need to get to a point where we stop saying these things and we stop categorizing black and white. Yes, I believe that we do. We are traumatized by our past and what we've gone through. So for the case of this conversation, let's call it the black crowd and the white crowd. Okay? So I think I know, right? I would actually want us to get past this point where we can just be a crowd.
Yeah, same.
And I'm starting to see a lot more parties happening like this. But again, there is guys that are playing in the Kasi that are not playing at these other festivals. That let's term it like that.
Let's
the local shows versus the festival shows. Okay, let's do it like that. All right, and I think at the heart of this, I have kind of taken this observation, and I am still to be proved wrong. And if there is an example of this online, please leave a comment so that I can, when I watch this, I can go and see this reference that I'm looking for. But what I've observed is that the guys in the local scene, or in the black market, let's say like that, they focus a lot on local. They focus only on local. They focus on budding local. They focus on local talent. They focus on guys from their hood, guys from the area. They're budding local. And the guys on the other spectrum that you're saying now people want to start gravitating towards the festival or the white market, they're basing their concepts on Europe.
Fact.
So that is why there is now this divide. Name a local show in the black market that has brought a well-known international outside of Julian Gomez. Or outside of Tulani, which I think is kind of like a very, like even Julian, very kind of broad, like, you know, he kind of like puts a glove, those markets kind of meet on his events. The markets kind of meet like this on Tulani's events. I mean, but where is that example? Which internationals are they bringing? And we can't turn around and say, oh no, budget. Because you're paying local artists the same amount that an international artist would cost you.
Is that true? Okay.
Well,
okay,
here's an example.
Here's
an example. What does Mapurisa and Kazdere small charge?
Okay. Good example. Okay.
All right.
Good point.
Now take that money that they charge. You can get an international artist from overseas. You can get an artist like a Steve Bug.
Good point.
From overseas, which we brought you. And Steve Bug is a generational artist that fits both those markets. So I think the focus...
Oh, that's a point I never thought about.
Yeah. I think the focus is really there. You actually don't need to say, oh, we need to go over to this market. We need to change our music. Because let me tell you something. I've seen guys get it wrong. I've seen guys get it miserably wrong, where you don't think that festival market is educated with quality of music. You are so fucking mistaken, my bruh. That is also the highest caliber of music in this country. That is why internationals choose to come and play at these events in 100%. This country. This is why these festival properties have garnered this reputation in this country, because it is quality. Don't come there because you think you're playing for a white party and play Avicii.
You can, yes.
I mean, come on now, guys. Let's be real. And I've seen it happen. I've seen guys come and play at a big renowned festival and play Swedish House Mafia. What are you doing, dog? They booked you because you're unique. But now you're coming in and you're playing regurgitated stuff that you think they want to hear because you're putting them in a box, but you as an artist don't want to be put in a box.
So to what extent do you feel like the artists are perpetuating this divide?
I think...
Because then let's think about these shows, because I hear what you're saying. I really hear what you're saying. This is a good opinion for me, because you're saying that the local people do not focus on booking, that the local, local crowd or local events promoters, they don't focus on booking those crowds that are going to give that appeal, that festival
And I hate that we have to
international
term it
appeal.
local and black
I
and
hate
white.
that
I just
we have
wanna
to
say,
term
like,
it
I
like
hate that
that
political
too.
kind of thing. I hate
I
that.
hate that we have to talk. That's the divide that currently exists, and I really hated that because you're looked at a certain way, you can't play at a certain crowd.
No, it's rubbish.
Because you're looked at a certain way, you can't play at this kind of crowd. I think it's rubbish too. So I'm trying to see to what extent the artists and the consumer and the promoter perpetuates that system. So how do we break this divide in that level?
I think artists also, like, when you're at that level, you also need to understand that you are an influencer.
Yeah, you are.
And I think that's
you have a platform.
I think that's the heart of the whole thing, is that the way you're promoting yourself, the way you're conducting yourself when you're out, when you're online, whatever, that's all like the source of where everything comes from. If you're going into a space and you're, let's say for example, you're going to go and play at one of these festivals and you're from the other market, let's call it that, from one market to the next, and you indoctrinate this kind of thinking that, oh no, they only listen to Katy Perry, Billie Eilish, blah blah blah, so I want to play remixes like this because I think they will receive me more. There is a degree of where that music becomes accessible, where they're like, cool, maybe they can sing along. But then there's also like a vast degree of that, which is like people will look at you and be like, bro, you're cheese. Like, you're playing Gouda, you're playing cheddar right now for me, you're playing pick and pay no-name brand music for me right now, and there's no authenticity in what you're doing. You know, you just had this massive release that was in this subgenre of house music, whether it was an Afro release, whatever, and now you're playing some Swedish House Mafia, big room EDM shit to me on a stage that doesn't actually promote this music. I think artists also have the responsibility to actually research and know and have to attend these events that they're going to play at. It's also like one of the biggest rules that I have as a promoter. I get a lot of booking requests, and guys, you know, they see what you're doing and they see, you know what they do? They see the lineups.
They see, yeah.
You know, and then they go, yo, you know, I want to be on this lineup. You know, this is a good time for me to approach this promoter. And a lot of the times they're guys that I know, they're guys that are well known or established, and they hit me up and we generally have some form of a relationship. And the first thing is like, yo, my guy, like, I'm free. Can we look at a date for April? And in my head, the first thing is like, first off, motherfucker, you didn't even say please, all right? But like, the next thing is like, do you even know what we do? Do you even know what we are about? Do you even know what the culture is? Do you even know what we stand? Have you even fucking attended one of these said events? Because if you're not participating in this community, why the fuck should you benefit from it? Why does our show now become another platform for you because you've now become irrelevant? You need to be participating. And this goes back to the reason why I'm the way I am, is like, I support my friends and their shows. You know, I think all the colleagues in this industry, they're my friends. I'd like to say that if you don't think I'm your friend, great, then I know, you know, you let me know when I see you next time,
like,
and then I
me.
know where to level our relationship.
Check me. Yeah.
But for me, you know, I want to clap for everyone.
Same, yeah.
You know, and I do clap for everyone, and I'm very happy for everyone. But if you want to be associated with me and the things that we do, then you must support. Because if you want to benefit from that, then there's a level of support. I come and I support your stuff. What makes you exempt from that rule?
Yeah. Tell me something then. You're now I'm looking at it in this perspective that there's a possibility that some people in the market or the other market has probably not played that market because they didn't get the request. Let me say, for example, let me ask you, have you played a commercial club like Ayep, for instance?
No, so that's also another thing. Like, as an artist, I know where my space is, and I know.
But isn't that the exact division that
where my brand lies?
Talking about?
Yes,
someone feels like my brand
be.
is here.
Like it can be that division. But again, this goes back into the research that you're supposed to conduct as an artist yourself.
I booked you because I know exactly what I want from you. If I request you as Ayep, what are you going to say to me? Like, hey, I love what you do. I want to request you to come here.
But then great. Then let me go. Fine, amazing. I'm open to that opportunity. If you're, it's a different thing. If you're now booking me and then the theme of the events and the lineup that you're set up is is not complimentary to me being there.
What is a complimentary lineup? Because the reason why I booked you for that particular slot is because I did my research. I know what I want from you, and I want you to come and provide.
Okay, so amazing. So like,
why
for example,
why are we worried about what that venue is, what it looks like? Do they fit in the setting of my sound?
I think again, like, because now I wear the hat as an event promoter.
Yeah.
You see, this is kind of why you see. So now I look at the event as an event promoter, and I go, cool. Maybe it's the same thing they're offering, but the theme of this night is different, and they want us as an artist there because that is the direction of the music that they want to showcase. You know, that's a very different thing than, as an example, to go and play like at a commercial.
I call them commercial,
commercial pop club that is renowned for only playing pop and like pop mashups and pop remixes, and that's not where the brand fits. So I'm not like, you know,
I'm struggling with that statement.
Yeah, it is a statement that does ruffle a lot of feathers, because a lot of these guys in these clubs will go, but you know, we want this said artist, you know, why can't we have them? And then that's great, but then that's also about like you as where you've kind of placed your brand. And that's not for me to say for other artists. Like my brand, I know specifically, has a certain brand direction, has a specific brand tone and a brand identity that has to have certain affiliates. I'm not saying you can't break.
Yeah.
So you can't break it. I'm not saying I'm not open to it.
Sure.
But that's all in case of the point of the promoter and what they're trying to do. For me, when I'm receiving a booking, I always ask these questions so that I, as an artist, know how to prepare for these bookings.
So it's not about whether your sound fits for the theme or anything like that. And I think for me, that is where the division lies. That's why a black artist is going to be like, I need to shift my sound so I can appeal to the white market, therefore appeal to the international market. You see, because that's where
it is kind of a catch-22, isn't it? Because you want guys to have more of a broader like perspective on this thing, but also at the heart of this there are cultural and traditional movements in a DJ space and in a music production space and in an event space, and I think those are the norms that maybe are kind of infuriating you a bit, where it's like, why do we even have these indoctrined traditions that are set that is like, okay, if you're going to go around these things this way and you want to be seen seriously, that you can't play at this place and you can't be at a Capello's or Madison's or, you know, like a that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this is also the other thing, is because a lot of these other places don't put music first.
True.
And I think this is where the conflict comes from.
Yeah.
Is they don't put the culture first.
Yeah.
And they don't put the music first. They put the alcohol first.
Yeah.
They put the drinking culture first.
Yeah. Because they need to make money. That's what I think that a lot of, I'm going to say this, a lot of black clubs, that's what they focus on, the bottle service, because they're thinking I need to make money, and it affects the music hard. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so like there is, and I think that's probably the main reason, is because, you know, you could have, and I don't want to name clubs on here, but you know, you could have these said commercial clubs that maybe paid more attention to their lineups.
Yeah.
Or not even more attention, paid just as much attention to their lineups and facilitating that experience that they want to create, but facilitated by like the spine of like really quality good music. And I'm not saying that people that DJ at these places are not playing good music. Like, I think music is subjective, as I said, and there's different strokes for different folks.
Yes.
But maybe that's what they want to do. Maybe not every place can be purist. There has to be cheese. And I love this, like this point, because I learned this from Floyd Levine, you know, over 10 years ago. And he said this: embrace your inner cheese. Embrace the fact that you needed to start at that level to become to a point where you're so familiar with it that you went, I want something new. Let me listen to drum and bass. Oh shit, I like it. It just has the same kind of lyrical content and great voices, but the structure of the music is completely different, and the sounds of the music are and then you go, and then there's a scene for that. So these are scenes now.
The scene, you see, the part of the scene, I can believe, like there are specific curated shows, niche shows for a specific genre of music. I get that. So now, but there's not enough of those shows in our country. Let's be honest about it. What is there though is a lot of commercial clubs and a lot of venues that now we are not crossing that line of black and white to feel like we're doing this combined thing. Because now I cannot be trying, for real, I feel like we cannot be trying to shift your whole genre identity just to appeal to a certain race of people.
I think it's up to the promoters as well to make sure that the spaces that they use
I think that's the
facilitate
problem.
But you see, this is also the thing. It can be a problem, and it also can't be. Some guys just want to do what they do because they love what they do. Other guys are willing to do more. Other guys that have establishments, build an establishment, go, cool, I only want to focus on Amapiano, and I only want to focus on hip-hop. And on my Friday night I have hip-hop, and on my Sunday I have Amapiano, and then on the Saturday I have like a mix of both. But this comes down to like club owners and promoters going, and like building specific nights in a calendar month, if this is what they want to achieve, to cross these crowds. Is like, you have these set nights every week of every month. Like, this night is themed like this night is themed like this night is... It's something for everyone at different stages of the month. But what automatically will come from that consistency that you build is that you will have spillage of crowds. They love the engagement, they love the atmosphere, they love what they're doing there, and they want to come
you know
next week, which is something I also want to kind of touch on a little bit later.
Yeah, definitely.
Is like places to look out for that we're busy working with, and some stuff that we're doing.
Well, listen, let me just touch on this like now, because this is the one thing that I'm looking at and I see a lot in the community of house and dance music. I see this a lot, and I feel like the artists themselves, when they, for instance, I feel like a lot of artists are taking certain platforms for granted. Like, they will not push a certain venue as much as they will push themselves going to a certain venue. And I think that's how they also perpetuate this divide. Because let's say if I get booked at Truth, for instance, and Truth is where, let me say, the market that I feel like I want to attend with, which, let's be honest, is predominantly white, then I push them more. But then if I get booked at some commercial club and you don't push it, and I don't push it as much, because that's not where I feel like my identity is. I feel like you're really you're not giving your supporters enough credit.
I agree with you, and I think that if that's your behavior, then don't take the show, because I think that at the heart of everything as an artist is, you know, we also, as an artist, you wanna be received for the music that you push out. And a lot of artists go, well, I'm not the promoter, so I don't have to advertise these shows. Cool, I listen, dude, I get that. But like, for me, if you're not doing that, then surely you have a marketing team or someone behind you that's letting your fan base know where you're going to be. You can't solely leave it up to the promoter to promote you. You as an artist need to promote your own career. You need to have your team that's pushing your own stuff, even if it's just you and you're the team. Like, you've got to push it. Like, people need to hear about it, and then, like, if you want to be seen, you've got to make yourself visible. Like, that is just the best way to do it. And I'm not by any means saying, like, I don't agree with those that don't want to push, because there are guys like that I know that think that they reach a certain level of a whatever they think it is. Nigga, you still haven't made it. But like, you haven't reached that level, but you're still now kind of with this entitlement, like, I'm not going to push, like, what is this? But I won't turn down your show.
Exactly. I won't turn down your show, but I'm not going to push. Like, what is that?
I think, again, like I'm saying, the heart of everything needs to be at a community level. Like, the support you want to receive should be the support you give. The love you want to receive should be the love you give. The engagements you want to receive should be the engagements you give. The time you want to receive from people should be the time you give. But I think also with a certain level of likes and followers, it's very easy to kind of get lost in the whole thing, because the one thing is this industry can give you everything, but it can also take away your soul.
That's true. That's true. So bearing in mind now, like the fact that you do promotion for your own events and you curate certain events, how do you feel like we should then move forward from this particular point when it comes to this divide that we have clearly created? Because
there's two things that I do practically. Is like any show that I get, I have like a certain amount of posts that I will do for that show, and I keep that consistent across any show that I have coming up. So that's the first thing I'd say, is like just create that rule for yourself, so that you are giving everyone the right kind of love on your platform. I think that's super important. If you want to share their platform with them and you're willing to accept the show because you know that that's going to bring you something, be happy to share your platform with them, because it's only going to make what they do better, which means you're going to come back and it's going to be better. If you want to grow on your own and you want to see the rest of the industry stay behind, how are you going to grow in this industry? Like, the industry has to grow with you. You know, it's like saying, how do you sit on the first floor of a building when you're sitting on the ground floor and you don't want to build steps to get there? You know, it's like...
That's the theme to our life.
So like that's...
As South Africans.
Yeah, so I think like that's the first thing, is like just create these rules. So like, here's one rule that I'll have, just as like a piece of information. It's like 2 or 3 posts for the show with stories that correlate that post. So the first one can be like the full lineup that you're posting with you on it. Yo, playing at this party, come check it out, save the date, right? As an example. And let's say you're always getting these bookings a month in advance. So then like 2 weeks before the booking, you can go like with your personal artist artwork. Hey, what's happening? This is where we're going to be. Here's our set time. You're still keeping them engaged. You're not regurgitating the same information. It's different information. You've now said save the date. Now you've said your set time. And then you can do a last post that has all the gigs that you're playing at the weekend. Here's where you can catch us on the weekend, and just like you know, and then that's kind of summarized and your followers can see it. And that's 3 different posts that you're shedding light to that specific event. All of the events are getting the third one. And it just shows support, because, you know, as promoters, because now I sit on this side, like, bro, I'm taking out my money out of my pocket to host you. Yeah. And there's a lot of artists that have this kind of entitlement that, you know, they feel like you should be booking them, and why aren't you booking them, and when was the last time you booked them, blah, blah. Bro, when last did you put money on my plate? You don't do shows. You just take. So it's like, also like, have that kind of respect. It's like, this money didn't grow on trees. Like I said, I didn't inherit a whole lot of money. You got to make it work. You got to sell tickets to cover the show. If everyone is collaborating and getting the news word out there, if your followers can see that they really want to go to the show, but they don't even know that you're playing, and they've missed that,
fake also.
and they've missed it, then they missed the opportunity to see you at that show, which misses people coming in through the door, which makes money for the show, that pays artists and sound providers and videographers, everyone within that event space, the venue. Without tickets being sold, you don't have a show. Without people being there, you don't have a show. Without people being there, you don't have fans. You can't be a successful artist on your own with no fan base and not having a relationship with your fan base. And if you need extra tickets and you want to run a guest list and you want to run a competition and people want to, then ask the promoter, speak to the promoter, say, hey, listen, can I get a couple of free tickets? I'll do it this way.
Yeah.
Show like an interest in collaborating with them. Because, you know, there's also this stigma that is like, there's a lot of DJs and not enough producers. And it's like, your rates are so, you know, your rates are here, and you talk about my rates, and how do we have the same rate, bro? When I'm releasing overseas, I've got X amount of top 100s around the world. Like, how do we have the same rate? How do you validate that? And then still not, I don't get it. So I just think it's just like, as an artist, you have also a responsibility. I'm not saying stop being an artist, but you have a responsibility to educate your crowd about where you're going to be and when you're going to be there, so that you can feel that love that they want to give you. It's It's a mutual relationship.
I agree 100% with everything that you're saying, for real. It irks me to see some of the people that I know. As a result, I tell myself that I look at who I work with my shows. Are they going to give me the level of support that I know I give to them? And funny enough, what I realized is this: people don't take note of what you help them with a lot of the times, especially in the artist space, in the music. Guys, they don't. But I'm not bitter. We're not bitter, because you're gonna ask someone, hey, yo, can you pull up? And for me, when I ask someone to come to my show, I try to create this synergized community of people, because I believe it's not about the black or white race, it's about the music. And the music, you can stand to enjoy it. I usually say with myself that sometimes I play a niche sound to a commercial crowd, just because those people need to hear that sound. It's like if you play a certain sound for people that are already in that sound, you're not educating or even converting a certain crowd of people. They don't know it. So that's why I have some type of way when my friends push the shows that they do in certain spaces more than they push in the other space. And now also they just, banglishi audience from coming to see them. And I feel like that's unfair, just because you're playing in somewhere that, like, let me say, I get a lot of shows in Polokwane and Mpumalanga, and I'm just thinking that it's weird that some of these people cannot engage with the sound that you play, just because you're not pushing that you're playing at that venue, because it's not a truth, for example. So that's just the kind of energy that I feel like we need to really change amongst ourselves. I saw a promo video, I'm not going to say who, but I'm going to ask him about this. I saw a promo video from a friend of mine from a venue that I know has a good 60% black crowd, but his video from that venue only featured white people, like as in the white people dancing. I'm like, are you trying to say something here? I didn't get that. But anyway, I didn't get it.
Yeah, you got to speak to the marketing team there. What happened?
I don't know.
Where's the inclusivity, brother?
Where's the inclusivity? Yeah. I was so concerned by that. But that's just my opinion. And I think that we start to do better in that respect, all of us. Everyone needs to do their job. The promoters, the club owners, the artists. Everybody, if everybody can just do their job.
I just think it's just, if you say we're a community, then let's act like one.
Let's act like a community.
Let's drop the egos. Let's drop whatever you think happened, and like stop being butthurt.
Yeah.
Stop being butthurt about things that don't actually really matter. If you really want to contribute, which I believe everyone is in their own way contributing, but like drop that past bullshit and like get together. I think, we're still sitting in this space, and I mean, we've been talking about this for years, where it's like, why don't the Joburg promoters within the same kind of sector of the industry, why don't they get together and have a forum and talk to each other and go, cool, we have these dates, you have these dates. And I can already tell you, we don't sit on this forum, but everyone knows each other's dates.
Yeah.
So now no one's talking.
Yeah.
But we're all supporting each other. Some like this, and some genuinely supporting. We're all supporting each other, but we're all competition for each other. And like this has been said for years. Many DJs have said it. Many of my friends have said it. Many colleagues have said it. It's like, why don't we have this forum? And I believe that some guys in Cape Town have this kind of forum where they get together and they talk. I think it's in the Cytrons community actually, where they get together every year. They discuss their dates in advance. We're working in this side of the sector where it's like, I know I will not pick, for example, I will not go and host an event on the first week of October because there's H2O and Rocking the Daisies as an example. Right, so I will not host on that week. Also, I don't want to compete with H2O because I play at H2O. So I have to be what I preach. I try to a lot of the times. Some things you can't avoid, like if you're doing a weekly, like every Sunday of the month, and there are other shows that you want to play at. Sometimes you can't help it, but sometimes people also like blur the lines just because we're hosting doesn't mean Western&Engine is playing. That is just an offering that we have through a consultancy at a set venue, you know. But then you kind of get scrapped off for that. And I also think is that when there's like a bigger, like it's like the case in point that I had now this year with El Momento. So El Momento is on the 8th of April, which I know you're going to be there. But we had the scenario for El Momento, which is like Ultrafest came now mid-March, and there's another festival that I'm a part of that usually hosts in mid-March, but now that's also electronic music festival. It's about 3,000 to 5,000 people. So you know that Ultra is direct competition, or exactly it will take most of the guys in that market. So you don't host. But now what happens is you push your date up. So now your date's no longer mid-March, now your date's 1st of April. My El Momento date's always the first weekend of April for the last 7 years. But now because there's a bigger event, global event that's happening, everyone's pushing their dates up. So we decided not to push our dates up. So we just stayed on that first weekend, which is either the 6th, 7th or the 8th of April. We stayed on that weekend because we also don't want to be in a position where I'm moving my dates up, which causes a lot of other promoters to move their dates up. And then the yearly calendar is just a fucking mess. It's just a fucking mess. So we like just stuck to our guns and we stayed on those dates. And there's other events that have also stayed on their dates, like Electric Circus. It's always on the last weekend of April. It's always on the 29th or the 30th, or I don't know if there's 31 days in April, you know. No, it's 30 days in April, but it's either the 27th, the 28th, the 29th or the 30th. It's around that weekend. So you also, those guys are never going to change their dates, but there might be younger promoters that come in and they look at, you know, they're doing their market research and they're looking and they go, you know, we can't be here. And I also have a bunch of like other properties with other events teams that I'm basically like a senior in these groups, where like we're looking at dates and they're going, oh yeah, you know, there's this event, and oh no, you know, we can't pick that date, there's this event, and oh no, it's this person's birthday at Truth, we can't have that event. But sometimes those things are unavoidable, like I was saying. Sometimes you can't avoid them, and you know, many guys have different perspectives, but if you're not in direct conflict with that specific market, why shouldn't you host an event? There's enough music listeners, party goers, people to go around that people would attend. And look at your offering, make sure it's different. Don't offer the same thing, because you've also got to give the market a lot of new experiences, new environments, new memories.
The idea of a forum is also a great idea, because then if there's a forum, you guys,
it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
Youngsters, take note. You must create this, please.